All right, let's bring in the panel now. We have former Navy SEAL Jonathan Gilliam and retired gunnery sergeant for the U.S. Marine Corps Newsmax analyst Jessie Jane Duff, and the host of the 13-minute news hour, Bobby Eberle. Panelists, welcome, and we appreciate you being with us. I want to just pick up on sort of what we heard from the Congresswoman there in terms of the impact. Let's kick it off with Remain in Mexico and ending this border policy, what this is essentially going to do to not just the overload that Customs and Border Patrol are already dealing with, but also from a national security perspective. Jessie Jane, we'll kick it off with you.
You know, this is disappointing, although there's a lot of logic in the dissents when you read these papers. However, when it goes back to the states, I merely say that we've got to stand strong. The Attorney General of Texas has filed multiple lawsuits because when you look at the impact upon these states, the damage that is being done to private property when these illegals have been coming over, when we look at the human trafficking toll, the fentanyl toll, the impact upon this country has been astronomical. And it requires voters now to seriously get behind finishing that wall, ensuring that they put members in Congress that support laws that will cease illegal immigration. You know, this all started on the Obama administration with the DACA laws, and that's why often you see people bringing over children so that those children are able to fall under those DACA laws. They're able to be exempt. They're able to acquire citizenship with a pathway to citizenship that the Democrats have been aggressively pushing for so long. So it's detrimental, but I just don't think that conservatives they're going to be relentless, and this is a losing issue for the Democrats.
Jonathan, I'll let you pick up.
You know, I think it's important for us to look at the fact that regardless of what the Supreme Court does, when they give something back to the states, the reality is it's the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. We don't even actually see states making individual decisions anymore. And for that matter, even the local governments, beyond what the federal senators, Congress, men and women, the Supreme Court. So we are completely divided into two camps of decisions throughout the United States. And it's a very dangerous thing because when the founding fathers created this country, what they intended was for the states to be the buffer between the people and the federal government. And there is no buffer anymore. So when we look at things like the border, you're going to have states leaders make the same mistakes as the federal leaders on a political level. And this is very dangerous. And I think, you know, the Supreme Court gets it right. They've gotten it right several times the past few weeks. But the reality is the Supreme Court falls along these same two lines. And until we get leaders in office, whether it be in the courts or local or state or federal, that are making decisions based on what's effective, we're going to fall into this position all the time of national security.
Bobby, to Jonathan's point right there, a lot of these cases deal with the executive branch and the authority that it has. That was certainly the question when it came to Biden versus Texas was, does the Biden administration, does the executive branch have the authority to set U.S. immigration policy? That actually went back to a 1996 law that was passed under the Clinton administration that it said it wasn't mandatory, but it was permissible. Similarly, there was the same question in West Virginia versus the Environmental Protection Agency saying that the EPA lacked the broad authority to regulate these greenhouse gas emissions related to climate change. What were your thoughts on that ruling there?
Well, first of all, on that one, if you read, I believe it's Sotomayor's or Kagan's dissent, one of the paragraphs, she said the reason she voted against that decision on the EPA was that she didn't think Congress could handle it, that they lacked the knowledge, even though that's Congress's job. And it shows you what activists on the court will do. They will take the legislative mindset on their own. They're supposed to rule on the Constitution. And she says, yeah, I'm going to rule against this because I don't think Congress could do the job. That's not the role of the Supreme Court. But to echo what Jessie Jane said on the ruling with Remain in Mexico, you know, whether you like this ruling or not, it comes down to the fact that Joe Biden could keep it in place, but he doesn't want to. He's going to get rid of it. And this was a deterrent to keep this border surge at bay. You see the numbers, what's happening now, That's all on Biden's hands. And we have the high gas prices, we have the inflation, but another major issue is the crisis at the border, and it's going to hit the Democrats hard.
All right, panelists, stick around. We'll have more to break down. Welcome back. Let's take a quick look at the national average for regular gas as millions of Americans head out for the holiday getaway. The current average, $4.84 a gallon. President Biden, however, continues to point the finger for the pain at the pump. Here's the commander-in-chief on the world stage.
The reason why gas prices are up is because of Russia. Russia. The reason why the food crisis exists is because of Russia. Russia not allowing grain to get out of Ukraine.
All right, let's bring back in our panelists, Jonathan Gilliam, Jessie Jane Duff, and Bobby Eberle. Appreciate you all being here. I'm curious to get your thoughts how it benefits the administration to continue to blame Putin and Russia for the invasion of Ukraine when there are simple things at home that the Biden administration can do to bring costs down. Jessie Jane, we'll start with you.
You know, this whole presentation he did in front of the G7 was basically bashing the United States and turning around and blaming Putin for his troubles. You know, when he sits there and says the buck stops there, Americans hear that. He's not taking accountability. And you're right. There are so many measures that they could take right here in the United States to include ensuring that we can drill, we can develop the land that we need in this country, ensuring those permits are accessible to the oil companies. But additionally, when he starts talking about inflation, worldwide inflation, the United States is doing better than most countries. He's flagrantly lying. We are ranked in the highest inflation rates of the 44 countries surveyed. We're number 13. We surpass the United Kingdom and Germany, who you would have thought were impacted by Russia greater than us, along with Canada and Mexico. Oh, and by the way, China, Saudi Arabia, some of our closest allies are not even suffering the way we are. So this blame game that he is doing does not hold water. And I think the voters are going to see it. And the Democrats as a whole are going to pay a very serious price for these flagrant lies coming in the elections in 2022.
And speaking of polling, you're right. We want to pull up this poll for you right now from CBS YouGov. 71% of Americans right now disapprove of President Biden's handling of inflation. 66% disapprove of his handling of the economy. Bobby, I want to put this question to you. Obviously, we've had a lot of news out of the Supreme Court, the issue of abortion, which is drawing a lot of attention. It's encouraging voters to go back to their state legislatures to vote in the November midterm elections. But again, at the end of the day, does this go back to the simple fact of the cost that it takes for Americans to fill up their gas tank and put food on the table for their families?
Yeah, I don't think when it comes to November that this is going to be an issue at all. In fact, you know, when we had the leak of the Supreme Court decision, I was actually thinking, hey, this kind of braces people for what we hope was going to come. And the story is going to flare up and it's going to die away. And what's not dying away, though, is the gas prices, the inflation, the border crisis, all of these top issues. And as you said, when it costs so much more money just to put food on the table, where people are having to make very tough decisions, sacrifices, just to get on with their daily life, that's how they're going to vote. That's what's going to motivate them at the ballot box. And with Joe Biden purposely hurting our country, not letting us produce the energy that we need, letting people flood in from the southern border, keeping Americans unsafe with these crazy laws and defunding the police policies, that's what's going to be on the ballot in November.
All right, friends, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button above. Once you do, tell your friends, share it, spread the word about the 13-minute news hour so we can keep growing. And for more great content, check out these videos right here, and I'll see you next time.